Good afternoon. I can't believe we're into April already, and the April numbers are out. So I thought it'd be a good time to update you guys as to what's transpiring in both the real estate and the mortgage industry. So let's start with the mortgage side. I'm actually going to jump into momentarily on the real estate side and let my broker speak for a few minutes so you can hear from somebody else. I think he did an absolutely spectacular job breaking down for some of the various market groups and what's going on out there and the various real estate types, and it gives us a little bit of optimism in the industry as we can see a bit of an improvement. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll let Jason speak to that later on in my video. But off the get-go, I just want to share with you a couple of articles of information as it pertains to the mortgage side. So the one thing I'm finding a little bit weird, a bit of an anomaly, is we've actually got the rates going both directions right now. So as this article here states behind me, fixed rates are creeping up and variable rate discounts are actually shrinking too. So Bank of Canada just announced, if you missed it, that they are going to hold the rate steady for the time being. However, I am hearing a lot of rumblings across the entire mortgage industry that we may see up to potentially three further rate drops. I suspect only a quarter point for each of them, so 0.75 over the course of the year. Earlier, about maybe a month ago or so, it was only expected to have perhaps two, so 0.5, but now there's some talk about possibly a 0.75. But in the meantime, we are dealing with the current market environment here, and as you can see, the actual fixed rates are starting to creep up a little bit as opposed to where they were about a month, 2 months ago. Still very, very good, and keep in mind, as I've said numerous times, fixed rates are based on the bond market. So the bond market obviously is seeing some improvement there, a little bit of, I guess, optimism, maybe a little less concern. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but the point is bond market's up a little bit, hence the fixed rates are up a little bit. And there's also, I guess, a consensus that people are wanting to go variable, especially if there's more and more talk about three further rate drops later this year, and hence the lenders are just dropping what they call the discount off of prime. So whatever their prime rate is, they might have offered as much as a 0.75 or 1% off of their prime rate. If prime was 5%, we'd be looking at 4%, and now they're saying, well, we're only going to offer you a 0.5 or 1. So that's also a good indicator that we're probably going to see those rate drops. But then the big question is, perhaps a 5-year fixed over the course of the time, and just that peace of mind may make more sense. Or in some cases, a 3-year. It's always worth having that discussion to kind of see the pros and cons and see which way you want to go there. So real estate wise, mortgage wise, it's really hard to say where things are. Rates are still much, much better than they were, last year, and even more so from the year before. Creeping up a little bit, but it may just be for a short little bit, and we'll see it go back down. It's very hard to say. Jumping into the real estate side, if you've been seeing some of these headlines, as I have been seeing, we got like this one here saying Toronto area home sales fall in April as buyers wait out the trade uncertainty, which makes a lot of sense. We already saw that before the elections. We were really kind of hoping to see a little bit more optimism come in. I think it's a little bit too early to say exactly what is going to happen in regards to real estate rebounding. But anyways, according to the stats for the month of April, very hesitant. Hopefully with some of these talks with Carney and Trump, we'll start to see May to do a bit of a rebound there. But as you can see, it's kind of consistent. Even if you look here with the real estate magazine, brutal April leaves buyers watching from the sidelines. So I think there's a lot of buyers out there, but again, they're just hesitant to make those decisions. And the rates are still relatively high and whatever else. And I guess the big question is, can they see a further reduction in valuations or not? Very hard to say. I think the other problem we got, of course, is the sellers are a bit of a tug of war. Are saying, hey, if my neighbor's got X dollars, I want to get the same amount there. So lastly, looking in the Waterloo region, the headline we've got is, April market signals shifting dynamic in the Waterloo region. So again, it's kind of showing a little bit of a downward curve there. And it's actually quite interesting. If you look at the single family average sale price for the month of April, we were actually lower than what we were in 2023, and of course 2024 we actually dropped quite a bit there. Townhouses, a significant drop right there, but keep in mind it could be just 1 month, who knows what exactly sold. In regards to townhouses, we do typically sell a lot less of those, so just a few lesser less townhouse selling, perhaps less of the new builds. That can completely skew those numbers there. Condos, very flat. That's kind of nice to see, though. At least they're not dropping, whereas the other ones are dropping. So it seems like we're kind of flattening out a little bit there. The semis, again, a little bit on the downside. And then, of course, your overall average would work out to be down. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump into our discussion with Jason, our broker here at Peak Realty. He always, as you know, we do our own review of the stats, and our stats are a little bit different than what you'll see through the region, but overall we're still reviewing the same type of stuff. And the nice part about Jason is he reviews multiple home styles and various areas. So if you're interested in areas such as Brantford, of course, Cambridge, he does a deeper dive into all these locations, even up towards the Grey Bruce. Yeah, lots out there. So check it out and enjoy. And keep in mind, if you need me for anything, give me a call
We'll
later on.
jump into kind of a pretty in-depth over. Ooh, I don't want that. A pretty in-depth overview of April's, if you will. So, and there's actually a lot of really good things to report here. As I was running through the stats, I kind of felt that things were kind of pushing in the right direction, but I'll talk to those just a little bit here. So this is all property types, Kitchener Waterloo. Um, so actually up average sale price 4.43%. And if you look at our volume, 392, and if I'm just going to compare it, kind of it's easier to compare year over year, right? So 426 sales in 2024. And 392 sales in 2025. So that's actually only a drop in volume by 8%. And simply because the dual system access, as far as with PropTex and Matrix, um, I think we might be missing some of this volume wise. Even if we missed like 8 or 10 of them, um, wouldn't, and maybe there's more than that. It wouldn't impact our average sale price so much. So I'm not really concerned with what it does here. But here, when we're running our kind of our margins, if you will, so tight, um, it might not be the numbers being down only 8% might even are likely less than that. Not likely, they are definitely less than down 8% volume wise from April of last year. So you remember over the last, gosh, since the beginning, almost the beginning of the year, we've been talking down 26% volume, 22% volume, down 18% volume. So being at having a month where we're finishing up only 8% down is great signs that we're actually moving in the right direction. But not only volume wise, as far as us take a look at a couple of these other stats. So the first time in months, really since November of last year, as far as um, we're actually seeing more sales than expires or cancels in the marketplace. So anything over 100% on this would be there's more cancels and expires than there are sales. So we're seeing this number starting to trend down a bit too. Average list of sale price trending up. Average days on market trending down. So all of these are really good signs of a healthier market and picking up. I take a look at April's of our average days on market. April of last year are significantly better, but we have more volume than we do, or we have more inventory than we did last year. So, but then look at a week ago as far as 128 sales. We haven't seen triple digit numbers this year yet. Like taking a look at basically not necessarily the last 7 days, but looking at a full week period from a Sunday to Monday period, or I'm sorry, a Monday to Sunday period. Um, and we have some cancellations and different stuff happening here too, but the volume is really kind of where we're looking at. Look what happens here. I mean, we see an increase of inventory on our over the last week of about 69 properties coming on the market in Kitchener Waterloo, but we also see an increase in uh, number of sales. So we lose a week and a half of an absorption rate. So again, when we start pushing towards that 16-week mark, and we kind of by on paper we define it as a seller, or I'm sorry, as a buyer's market. So as we start pushing this down, we kind of get into a more balanced market, which is really where we want to be. So inventory up, which is great, more choices for buyers, absorption rate down, also good for sellers in respect to the general marketplace and then being more of a balanced market. Let's jump over here to single detached in the marketplace. Kind of the same token here, up about 3.74%. only down about 6.9% from volume on a year over year basis, 218 versus 233. So I don't know the numbers right off the top of my head there, but only down 6.9% on a volume perspective. So this is great for real estate agents working in the marketplace. Average sale price up 3.4%. I'm just kind of reading through my notes here. Oh, the April stats actually first time in single detached market breaking the 900 mark since kind of December of last year. This is where we've kind of seen some slow, steady kind of balancing of the market out, if you will. But I mean, even in the vast majority of last year after the May holiday, the month of May, we started seeing this kind of decreasing down a little bit. Nothing significant, but a trend up is kind of it's nice to see kind of where we're going. Um, I ran some quick stats in the detached market. So in May, so these are some good stats to understand too. So in May, for the first 6 days of May of this year, we've had 39 sales last year. I'm sorry, we've had 41 sales last year. In the single detached market, we had 39 sales. So that if on a percentage basis, it's up about 5% volume wise. And in the first 6 days of May. So again, our absorption rate dropping by a half a week, if you will, putting us into under 10 weeks of inventory on the market, um, with the volume picking up as well. So really healthy stats there. What do I have? Get back into, oh, I'm not going to jump into all of these markets again. This was so flat on the semi-detached market as far as actual volume wise, a little bit down price point wise. That could have a number of different factors. I would say mainly likely due to not enough volume to get real solid numbers here on it. Um, but look at our average list to sale price ratio in this market. We know that there's only 4 weeks of inventory in this particular sub market, if you will. And so this really kind of pushes our average days on market at down about 20 days. I'm going to talk to that as we kind of move through some more of these general marketplaces as far as days on market and kind of within our business models. Freehold towns. I don't have a whole lot of data here. I'm not really going to talk to that, but um, the condo towns. This market is somewhat interesting in terms of where's my condo towns. Um, so we're actually from last year. This is our one of the marketplaces that's actually up in the local area. So 54 sales last year, 56 sales this year. Um, Averaging a list to sale price ratio about 100% in this marketplace. It's probably one of the most consistent markets that we've seen. Um, a little bit higher than we'd like to see on the because the over 100% is for every one home that sells 1.28 are actually expiring or canceling. Days on market a little bit longer in this market as well versus what we saw like in the semi-detached market. Um, and this is where it's a little bit interesting too. So we got a fair bit of inventory in this market, but we're actually seeing more volume. So this is an interesting sub market, if you will, as far as and buyers actually looking to kind of first time because we get into these price ranges here. First time home buyers actually being able to enter into this marketplace. So lots of choice for the buyers out there in this market, but some good volume moving for the sellers as well. Um, I mean, better than last year at this point in time as well. Um, Apartment style condos. This is starting to finally see some traction in this marketplace too. Granted, we're still of every one sale, 1.8 are canceling or expiring. 68 days on the market on average, but average sale price. This is traditionally this market kind of intrigues me a bit as far as because traditionally when we see a buyer's market, that would create some downward pressure on average sale price, but it doesn't seem to be happening so much in this market. And we've seen some balancing out on a month over month basis and some small corrections. But I mean, at the end of the day, as far as if you look at these average sale prices on a month over month basis, they're relatively flat. I mean, this is a significant jump from here to here, but I think that that's a bit of an abnormality with only 35 sales. And always consider the abnormalities when talking with everybody on stats wise anyway. And then our Cambridge market uh, down had a good finish in March. Down was just a small correction in April. I think we're down about 8.4% in volume in this marketplace. This market, but it's finally consistent with some of the other stats that we've seen in some of the other markets because I believe in March, I think it beat out March numbers if I remember this correctly. Not quite, but not quite, not the 25 and 23% decrease in volume that we've seen in other markets. It was so much less than what we've seen comparative to our other markets. But so yeah, they're down about 8.4% in that marketplace. Average days on market 34%. Now this is all property types, so taking that into consideration with kind of the Kitchener market with all property types. Average days on market about 40. Cambridge about 34. So just some things to consider. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. Brant County. Again, I don't have a whole lot of volume here. This marketplace has been really kind of challenging volume wise. I mean, it finished off last year so strong, and then this year it's just kind of it's slow to start, but hopefully we'll get the volume that will kick in the late spring and summer market. Just again, it's just a slow start. Look at April, 33 sales in April of 2024 versus 18 sales. This is Paris, 18 sales in 2025. I'm not going to dwell a whole lot on that. I'll get into some quarterlies here, which will kind of give you a snapshot. Brantford is getting hundreds. This market's getting hit relatively hard, but again, I want to I report these numbers with a bit of a grain of salt because we don't have our systems dialed in enough yet between the PropTech system and the Matrix system. I think there's a fair bit of sales that are being reported on the PropTech system and not being reported in the Matrix system in this particular marketplace. Because you see April of last year, 158 sales compared to 107 this year. That puts their volume down 32.3%. That's a loss of a third of their market. So that makes me kind of question the stats a little bit. I have a hard time believing that we're losing a third of market. Although this one you can see if you rewind a couple of years and listen to me kind of talk about this market. This market has had some significant challenges in the past, but a 33% drop or losing a third of the volume in the market, it makes me question the numbers a bit. We'd have to dig in deeper on those, and I can certainly do that if you have a listing coming up in Brantford and you want to kind of dig a bit deeper into this. Get a hold of me and we can chat offline on it too. So. And then our quarterlies for so again with kind of some of the thinner traded markets, but these down. This is Brant County down about 33% in volume for the same period of last year. That's where I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on that. Too, Paris is kind of showing the same thing. One way to kind of look at this in terms of the Paris market, if you will, as far as we had 70 sales in the first quarter of Q1. Now that was up from the first quarter of 2023, but basically I'm kind of saying that this market's a month behind right now because basically if you add what we've have of all of April, and add that into Q1, basically we're like almost exactly 1 month behind. So what we kind of keep our fingers crossed with some more market activity in this market. And I think it's just late coming, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of positive signs happening in the marketplace out there that we'll see some more volume. Again, this is Brantford. Guelph is about equal to everything else. So they're down about 10% volume wise, but up slightly on average sale price. Guelph, I just did a listing presentation in the Guelph marketplace, and again, adjusting strategies is kind of my point in kind of working through separate marketplaces anyway, because you can kind of see with this average list to sale price ratios that this marketplace sellers and listing agents aren't necessarily. Demi, I see you're raising your hand. Give me 1 second here. Let me finish this up and I'll come to you. Um, in kind of this with this general marketplace, agents and sellers are listing closer to sales price, actual market value, rather than the strategy of pushing uh, lower list price and trying to put things into multiple. No, I mean there's everything can go into multiples depending on what you do with it. But you kind of see this kind of trajectory in their the uh, average sale price in the marketplace as well. So Demi, what can I answer for you? No, we'll come back to it. Let me see what else we have here. So that's our Guelph market. Let's jump into Hamilton really quickly. Um, Hamilton down again, kind of average, down 9.6% volume wise on the quarter. The absorption rate is down almost 2 weeks, so that's a good sign in this marketplace. Still kind of at that over that 4 month mark, which is over 4 month of inventory, which still kind of illustrates it's a buyer's market in this marketplace. Again, we are looking strictly at all property types in this marketplace. But your list to sale ratio or your list to cancel ratios, um, about about a 1-to-1 here on it, a little bit favoring the cancel to sale ratio or cancel and expired ratios versus the sales, but not enough to make a difference. So basically, one in every other home that's going on the market is selling, and then we have average days on the market of 57. And then we get into our West Coast marketplaces. Uh, Huron, my notes on Huron. Here we go. Oh, this is Gray first. Volume even in in Gray County compared to last year. I mean, literally exact number of sales from this year to last year. Um, and up, average sale price is up. Again, we or of every three homes that are listing, one is selling on the marketplace. So just taking that into consideration when you're kind of talking with your sellers and to really to manage expectations. But look at this is where this 45 actual weeks of inventory on the market. So I mean this in normal standards. Now this is a lot of this is rural properties and all of that. So um, I wouldn't necessarily compare this with a Kitchener Waterloo market or a Hamilton markets that are even London markets that are a little bit more active. It's just something to take into consideration when looking at it. I don't believe based upon these average sale prices. Um, I don't believe that this market is that deep into a buyer's market. And just because I think our prices would reflect more of that, and we're seeing relatively stable prices. I mean, we do see some anomalies. Well, this is 820, but in your 760 range, 730 range, all 750 range, all within that kind of there's not a whole lot of variation really supporting a strong buyer's market in this marketplace. This is a fun market to look at in general as far as is the Huron market. So and why I say that is they're actually up over last year, April 64 sales in April of last year. And I say it's a fun market to look at because it's one of the markets that actually is beating last year's numbers and really kind of by a long shot, except for maybe average sale price here. But I think that will naturally come back over time. But so the volume's up 12.5%. It's actually up over the last 2 months because I think we beat out last month. Oh, we were flat last month, but 14% over the last 2 months, 12.5% in the last month. Q, 2 consecutive months of average sale price increases. Days on market is down. And these are type of stuff that I would be reporting kind of to my clients if I'm doing business in this area. Um, Average sale price is up. Absorption rate is down. I mean, again, we're showing 26 days our weeks of inventory on the market. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, these are some good stats overall, and that's why I kind of call that a fun market to look at. Bruce is kind of uh, a little bit of a different story. Volume down 15.8%, and our absorption rate up about 3 weeks. So that's a relatively significant jump there. Um, Again, it's a bit of a thinner traded market. Um, One thing I'm gonna and I'll jump back over, but there's a couple of things that
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, give me a call if you got your mortgage coming due. Mortgage wise, we are very, very busy this year, which is quite nice to see. I do know a lot of people have their mortgages coming due, so it never hurts to get a second opinion. And I'll tell you honestly, if I think you've got a good rate on your renewal, by all means go with that direction. Perhaps you've got some other debts. It might make sense to at least do an analysis. Perhaps we should consider possibly consulting your debts. And in some cases, it may even just be that the given mortgage situation you have may not be the best fit for you. Some of my older clientele getting closer to retirement, it may make sense at this point in time before they retire to move them over to something like a Manulife One. I have a lot of different options, a lot of different mortgages. So by all means, give me a call, have your friends and family give me a call. It's always worth a discussion. And on the real estate front, again, same type of thing. Give me a call because the stats only tell us so much. It's better to do a deeper dive into the actual real estate in your area to kind of get a sense of the valuation and what can or cannot be done to your home, and if it makes any sense to do all the work needed to perhaps get a little bit more out of the house. Again, a discussion. Okay, hope you guys have a fantastic spring, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Bye.